Did you know that nearly 60% of women after 45 say they feel less connected to their partner physically, even when love is still strong? The cause isn't lack of desire, it's biology. Menopause shifts hormones, lowers blood flow, and changes nerve sensitivity. But research reveals 4 surprising spots that remain powerfully responsive areas that, when kissed, can release bonding hormones and bring intimacy back to life. I'm Dr. Eliza Hart, a board-certified women's health specialist with over 15 years of experience in menopause hormone balance and sexual wellness. I've worked with thousands of women navigating life after 40, and I've seen how small, science-based changes can completely transform the way intimacy feels. In this video, I'll share the 4 overlooked kissing spots that medical research highlights as keys to deeper closeness after 40. We'll also discuss one bonus gesture that lowers stress hormones and strengthens your nervous system's response to intimacy. These are not tricks, they're backed by physiology, neuroscience, and clinical experience. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a health update. And I'd love to hear from you if this message resonates with your own experience. After 40, drop a comment below. Your story may help another woman feel less alone. 1. The nape of the neck, where trust meets biology. As women enter midlife, intimacy stops being driven by novelty and speed and becomes increasingly regulated by nervous system safety, hormonal context, and the feeling of being genuinely valued. That is why I begin with a small, easy-to-miss area that reliably shifts the body out of tension and into receptivity, the nape of the neck. This mini hook matters because in practice, couples who refocus on nerve-dense, low-pressure zones often report more comfort and closeness even before desire fully returns. From a physiological standpoint, the nape is packed with cutaneous sensory fibers that project to brain regions coordinating emotion memory and attachment, often referred to collectively as the limbic system. Gentle kissing or slow touch here does not simply stimulate skin. It modulates autonomic tone by engaging pathways that downshift sympathetic arousal and enable the parasympathetic system to take the lead, which is precisely the shift many women over 40 need before intimacy feels natural rather than forced. Hormonal transition amplifies the relevance of this spot. As estrogen declines through perimenopause and menopause, blood flow patterns and tissue responsiveness change across the pelvis, and some women experience dryness, tenderness, or a sense that direct genital stimulation is too abrupt. Because the nape remains sensitive, independent of pelvic tissue status, it offers a route to connection that honors comfort while still activating the brain's bonding chemistry, a combination that lowers anxiety and increases willingness to engage. Clinically, I hear the same pattern in visits year after year when attention returns to the back of the neck. Women describe a felt drop in shoulder and jaw tension, slower breathing, and a steadier heart rate, all signs of parasympathetic dominance. That response is not imaginary. The cervical musculature and fascia often hold occupational and caregiving stress, and thoughtful contact across this region can interrupt that loop, improve posture for the moment, and make subsequent touch more welcome. Technique and pacing matter as much as location. Quick, forceful movements risk triggering a protective startle, whereas a gradual approach, moving hair aside, pausing long enough for the nervous system to notice warmth, then holding a light, sustained kiss, communicates patience and presence. The content of the signal is essentially, "You are safe." There is no urgency here, and the nervous system interprets that message far more accurately than any words spoken after the fact. Because intimacy after 40 is a team effort, I encourage clear, direct guidance rather than guessing games. If the nape feels calming, say so. If pressure needs to be lighter or contact shorter, say that too. Small adjustments have outsized effects when the goal is nervous system regulation, and couples who practice this level of specificity usually find performance anxiety receding, while comfort, laughter and curiosity return on their own. It is equally reasonable to pair this nape focus with simple breath coordination, 3 slow inhales and longer exhales, while the kiss is held because the vagal pathways that favor relaxation respond to breath length as well as gentle touch. Women who have struggled with a sense of disconnection often report that this pairing gives their body permission to participate again, not out of obligation, but because it finally feels physically possible. Begin here, not because the nape is magical, but because it reliably builds the conditions. Intimacy requires down-regulated stress, a sense of being attended to, and a foundation of trust that does not depend on performance. With that groundwork laid, the body becomes more receptive to other equally subtle areas that most couples overlook, and that is where we will go next. 2. Behind the ear, the overlooked zone of oxytocin. When women tell me that intimacy feels muted after 40, they often think the problem is desire. Yet research shows the deeper change lies in hormone regulation and sensory signaling. One of the most powerful but overlooked areas is just behind the ear. Though it may not appear sensual, the biology here makes it uniquely capable of triggering oxytocin, the hormone that strengthens trust connection and emotional bonding. The skin behind the ear is thin and filled with peripheral nerve endings connected to cranial and cervical pathways. Light contact here, whether a kiss, gentle breath, or soft pressure, sends rapid signals to the brain's emotional centers. Studies in neurophysiology confirm that stimulation of auricular branches can modulate the vagus nerve, influencing parasympathetic activity and oxytocin release. In everyday terms, even a small kiss here can help slow heart rate, lower cortisol, and prepare the body to respond with warmth rather than tension. For women in midlife, this point becomes especially relevant. As estrogen declines during perimenopause and menopause, many experience disrupted sleep mood swings or a heightened level of stress. When intimacy begins with an area that calms instead of overwhelms the nervous system, interprets the moment as nurturing, not demanding. Patients often tell me that a kiss behind the ear makes them pause and exhale because the body reads it as comfort and safety rather than pressure. This shift alone can rekindle a sense of readiness that many thought was gone. Psychology adds another layer of importance. Throughout life, the ear has been a private space for whispers, secrets, and laughter shared only in confidence. That history makes the territory emotionally charged even before touch is introduced. After 40, when insecurities about aging often surface, attention to this hidden spot reinforces the message of being chosen and valued in ways far beyond appearance. For many women, that reassurance is as significant as the physical sensation itself. Technique here is critical. Younger partners may assume that urgency equals passion, so they bite, pull, or rush. Yet conversations with midlife women consistently show the opposite preference: slower, softer, and quieter contact. A brief whisper of breath or a light, deliberate kiss tends to create more impact than aggressive touch ever could, precisely because it amplifies oxytocin without activating the stress response. The nervous system is finely tuned to detect whether touch signals safety or threat, and in midlife, safety always strengthens intimacy. Communication makes this work sustainable. Explaining that gentle feels better reframes intimacy not as criticism, but as guidance. When partners respond, women usually relax and lean in because their nervous system trusts the experience. This is where biology intersects with relationship dynamics. As oxytocin rises, defenses fall, and affection flows more naturally. Couples often report that laughter and conversation come easier, and the sense of closeness lingers long after physical touch ends. Clinically, the benefits extend beyond intimacy. Higher oxytocin is linked to lower blood pressure, better stress resilience, and improved healing. Of course, no single kiss can produce dramatic physiological change, but regular nurturing contact at places like behind the ear helps women build a healthier baseline as they navigate midlife transitions. So why emphasize such a small spot? Because it reflects what intimacy after 40 truly needs: patience, precision, and presence. By starting with an area that calms the nervous system, couples create the environment for deeper connection without pressure. And once that environment is established, the body naturally becomes more receptive to the next area waiting to be rediscovered. 3. The inner wrist, a small surface with profound sensitivity. If the area behind the ear helps the nervous system settle, the inner wrist shows how biology and meaning converge in a place most couples overlook. Few consider the wrist part of intimacy, yet its structure makes it one of the most responsive regions of the body. The skin here is thin and richly supplied with vessels and sensory receptors, so it reacts to temperature, light pressure, and gentle movement with unusual clarity. A slow, intentional kiss at this site often feels powerful because the brain reads the cue as care, not urgency. Clinically, stimulation at the wrist supports parasympathetic activation through branches of the median and ulnar nerves, shifting the body away from stress reactivity. That shift lowers heart rate and blood pressure and creates a physiological precondition for comfort. For many women after 40 who juggle work, caregiving, and the hormonal changes of perimenopause and menopause, this downshifting is not a luxury. It is a prerequisite. Gentle attention to the wrist provides a clear safety signal that the body can trust. The wrist also carries emotional weight. The pulse point has long been associated with vitality. In clinics, we check it to confirm circulation and steadiness. When a partner pays careful attention here, the gesture communicates recognition of the whole person, rather than narrow interest in a single body part. Many women tell me that a kiss at the wrist feels like an acknowledgement of their essence, a reminder that they are seen fully, not reduced to a role or expectation. That psychological resonance pairs with nervous system response to create closeness felt as tenderness rather than performance. Another advantage of the wrist is practicality. Unlike private areas, it is accessible in everyday settings, holding hands at a table, resting an arm during conversation, or pausing on the couch at day's end. Incorporating a light touch or brief kiss here requires no elaborate preparation. Instead, it threads intimacy into ordinary life, which for many midlife women matters more than sporadic grand gestures. Small, repeated acts accumulate into a stable sense of security and connection and reduce the pressure that often undermines desire. Technique determines outcome. A rushed or mechanical touch can feel transactional, but a slow kiss, paired with steady eye contact or gentle, synchronized breathing, deepens the effect. Lightly holding a partner's wrist, pausing for a breath, and placing a deliberate kiss creates conditions that support trust, openness, and warmth without overwhelming the senses. I encourage women to frame this not as a trivial habit, but as a health-supportive practice. By guiding partners to engage with the wrist in a way that respects comfort, they can cultivate emotional closeness while also enjoying physical benefits such as lower perceived stress and more restful sleep. Sharing these small adjustments often reshapes how couples approach intimacy, replacing pressure with presence and allowing curiosity to return on its own timeline. Before we move on, consider a quick check-in. Does a light hold at your wrist change your breathing or sense of safety? If it does, you are noticing the same mechanisms I see in clinic. If this resonates, I would value your perspective. In the comments, your experience may help another woman feel less alone after 40. And if you have not yet tried integrating wrist contact into quiet moments, consider it a simple, respectful step toward deeper connection. With this foundation in place, the body and mind are better prepared to explore areas that require a little more trust. 4. Riskier spots, where vulnerability meets intimacy. So far, we have focused on areas that are biologically sensitive and emotionally reassuring. But there are also regions of the body that carry deeper vulnerability. I call them riskier spots because they can trigger both strong closeness and, if approached poorly, discomfort or withdrawal. For women after 40 who may carry insecurities about appearance or changes linked to menopause, these areas require patience and signals of safety. When approached with sensitivity, however, they unlock profound intimacy. The first is the hollow of the collarbone. This shallow dip just below the neck and above the chest is an area of thin skin, superficial nerves, and symbolic closeness to the heart. Clinically, women often describe a kiss at the collarbone as affirming because it blends physical sensitivity with the symbolic act of being valued at the core. In midlife, when women sometimes feel overlooked, this spot offers reassurance that they are still treasured. The second site is the inside of the elbow. This soft bend of the arm is rarely touched intentionally, which makes it surprisingly powerful. The skin is delicate with visible veins and a concentration of mechanoreceptors that respond to light pressure. A gentle kiss or trace along this crease can trigger shivers down the spine, a response mediated by cutaneous nerve fibers and heightened by the element of surprise. Many patients tell me they never realized how sensitive the elbow crease was until it received mindful attention, and once they experienced it, the sensation became unforgettable. The third category includes the stomach and hip bones. These regions carry special weight for women over 40, as they are common sites of self-consciousness due to weight changes, skin laxity, or scars from childbirth or surgery. Because of these associations, the areas are often avoided. Yet from a neurological perspective, the abdominal wall and hip region contain abundant sensory receptors and are connected through fascial pathways to the pelvis. When kissed gently without haste or judgment, the brain interprets the contact not as scrutiny, but as acceptance. For many women, this transforms long-standing discomfort into an experience of relief and affirmation. It is important to stress that none of these areas should be rushed into. Timing matters. They belong later in the sequence of intimacy once trust and comfort are established. Without that foundation, attention here can feel invasive. With it, the same touch can feel profoundly validating. I encourage couples to talk openly about readiness. Asking, "Does this feel comfortable?" not only prevents missteps, but also strengthens trust, which is the cornerstone of healthy intimacy in midlife. From a broader health perspective, engaging these riskier spots supports not only emotional connection, but also physical well-being. Gentle stimulation of nerve-dense regions helps regulate cortisol, reduce muscular guarding, and improve circulation. Over time, repeated safe experiences can rewound associations so that areas once linked with self-criticism become sources of comfort. This is where medicine intersects with relationship care. Touch becomes both therapeutic and connective. As a physician, I want to underline that these spots are optional, not mandatory. Intimacy is not a checklist, but a dialogue. The real benefit lies in approaching vulnerable areas with empathy and patience, showing that love extends beyond the obvious and includes even the places a woman may hide. That message carries power well beyond the moment. When couples learn to integrate these subtler, riskier zones, they discover that intimacy is not diminished by age, but deepened by experience. With the right care, vulnerability becomes strength. And when that shift occurs, the stage is set for even the simplest gestures of reassurance to carry greater meaning. 5. Bonus gesture, the hand on the lower back. Not every expression of intimacy requires lips or deliberate sensual touch. One of the gestures most often described by women in midlife is a hand resting gently on the lower back. At first glance, it seems ordinary, but biology and psychology reveal why this action carries such impact. It signals safety, steadiness, and partnership qualities, especially meaningful after 40. The lower back supports the lumbar spine and anchors muscles that carry much of the body's weight. Over years of work, caregiving, and hormonal change, this region often becomes tense and fatigued. Gentle contact here communicates to the nervous system that it can release some of that tension. The area links with parasympathetic fibers that regulate stress and breathing. A calm hand at the small of the back can lower cortisol, slow the heart rate, and cue the body to relax. Equally important is the psychological message. For women who have spent decades balancing responsibilities, the sensation of supportive touch feels like permission to exhale. It is not overtly sexual. It is a signal of reassurance. Only when the body registers safety does desire reemerge naturally. Many patients recall times when a partner's hand on the lower back eased fatigue or softened irritability, reminding them that they were not facing challenges alone. This gesture also fits seamlessly into daily life. Whether guiding through a doorway, steadying a partner while walking, or resting a hand while dancing, the lower back touch integrates intimacy into ordinary routines. Its accessibility keeps closeness from being confined to rare occasions. Repeated small signals accumulate, creating a steady sense of connection that couples in midlife often find more valuable than grand displays. How the gesture is performed matters. A rushed or heavy grip may feel controlling, while a relaxed placement communicates presence. Patients often describe how a gentle hand helps them stand taller, breathe deeper, and feel grounded. Research confirms these impressions. Supportive touch reduces stress hormones and increases oxytocin, the hormone linked with bonding and trust. The body interprets this quiet contact as evidence of safety. The lower back also holds symbolic meaning. Positioned at the body's center of gravity, it represents balance and stability. When a partner rests a hand there, the body interprets it as shared grounding. For women navigating the uncertainties of perimenopause or postmenopause, that symbolism can be powerful. It affirms that they remain supported physically and emotionally, even as their bodies change. Communication deepens the benefit. Women who share how reassuring the gesture feels reinforce positive behavior and prevent misunderstanding. Couples who adopt it regularly often describe feeling more united, both in daily routines and in intimate moments. What begins as a simple act of comfort often becomes a rhythm of connection that strengthens the relationship. Health advantages add further value. Gentle touch at the lower back can ease muscular tension, improve posture, and aid balance concerns that grow with age. By linking affection with physical relief, the gesture nurtures both closeness and well-being. Ultimately, what makes the hand on the lower back so powerful is its simplicity. It requires no special planning, yet it communicates volumes. I am here. You are safe. You can lean on me. For women after 40, those messages may be the most healing of all. While kisses on sensitive spots awaken desire, this gesture adds safety and grounding. Presence, not performance, becomes the anchor of passion. And when presence is consistent, women know they do not walk alone. Intimacy becomes partnership in its fullest form. When we look at intimacy after 40, the lesson is clear. It is not about speed, performance, or comparison. It is about presence, patience, and the willingness to honor areas of the body that speak as much to the heart as they do to the skin. The nape of the neck, the space behind the ear, the inner wrist, the vulnerable zones of the collarbone, elbow, and hips, and finally, the steady reassurance of a hand on the lower back, each offers a pathway into connection that is both biological and emotional. Science shows us why these areas matter. They are dense with nerve endings linked with parasympathetic regulation and associated with the release of oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and trust. Beyond the biology lies something more important: the message these gestures send. They say, you matter, you are safe, you are still deeply desired. For women navigating menopause, shifting hormones, or insecurities about aging, that message may be the foundation of lasting closeness. My advice as a physician is straightforward focus, less on performance, and more on creating conditions where connection can thrive. Slow down. Ask for feedback. Incorporate these small, intentional gestures into daily life. Over time, they will do more than spark physical response. They will foster emotional safety, reduce stress, and strengthen partnership. If you found value in these insights, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another discussion on women's health after 40. Share your perspective in the comments. Your story may help another woman or couple feel less alone. And thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Dr. Eliza Hart, reminding you that intimacy is not lost with age. With the right care, it deepens. You're not too late. This is where it begins.